Starting Five podcast back for a third episode. We got the four from last time back. Artin, introduce yourself back in the game. Artin.
Hey,
who's
I'm Artin.
better at basketball?
I'm ready to do some news today. I'm excited. Let's go.
Who's better at basketball, Spencer Dinwiddie or Dwyane Wade?
Dwyane Wade is real bad. Hopefully his surgery helps, and Dinwiddie is very good. So there's your answer.
It's Cole. What's up, buddy?
Yo, what's going on? It's Cole Ferrier coming to you live from the 6, aka Toronto, Ontario.
All right, yeah. Cole. How you feeling about Culture 2?
Every white girl on planet Earth thinks it's great. Not really about it.
All right, I respect it. Me neither. Hadi, what do you say?
Yo, it's Hadi coming to you from the middle of nowhere, London, Ontario.
Nice.
And, yeah.
Hadi, do you think that J.J. Abrams is one of the great directors of our time?
No.
That's all you need to say, honestly. No.
Yeah, just leave it.
All right. So
that was too negative.
Coming up right now on this podcast, Arden's gonna run through the news. We're talking about Dan Gilbert, how Dwane Casey sucks, more All-Star shit, Jabari Parker, Porzingis, and of course big man James getting that night, and then we're gonna talk about the future of the Pelicans and what LeBron's gonna do in the summer, and how long it's gonna take him to decide to join the Spurs. All right, then we're gonna do our role player of the week, which is pretty easy one this week. Very well-known role player, Trevor Ariza. Artin, let's go to the news.
All right, let's do it. First up, Dan Gilbert has expressed his interest in selling the Cavs. Cole, do you think that's the right decision for the Cavs?
For the Cavs or Dan Gilbert?
For the Cavs.
I don't. It depends, It depends basically everything depends if LeBron stays. Like, if he expresses interest in wanting to sell the Cavs, LeBron, I don't know, I saw an article on it, LeBron has interest in purchasing an NBA franchise. So what better franchise, obviously, to pick than his hometown team?
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Cole, what do you think? Dan Gilbert, I read something the other day. I feel like I might be making this up, but he's never kept a general manager for. He's never re-signed them or something like that. I can't remember what it was, Cole. But what do you think of his inconsistency with general managers?
I don't know. For any team, that's obviously not good. You want consistent staff, obviously. Just in the workplace in general, consistency is good. You know what you need. I don't know how to explain it.
No, I get it.
It's just he just can't. He wants to be the GM. That's just what it is. When GMs want to do their job and they don't want to do what he says, he tends to get a little bit schmiz,
Yep. All right, Mike. Now LeBron, he's 33 or something like that. I can't remember.
He turned 33 in December. Yeah.
He turned 33 in December. All right. Whether he stays or not, he's getting old. Soon enough, LeBron is going to be out of the Cavs, whether it's by retirement or free agency this summer. Mike, how long do you think it's going to be until they're a decent team again? A playoff team?
Well, I think if they decide to keep the Brooklyn pick, just out of the precaution that LeBron may leave, I think that there's a decent draft coming up now, and depending, I don't think that the Brooklyn Nets are a bottom 8, not like a bottom 5 or 6 team, and the first 6 or 7 prospects I feel like in this draft all have really fringe all-star to top 5 player potential. So I think if they can pick one of the lower guys, maybe if he follows a guy like Colin Sexton or even Trae Young, I think this pick is really important because if LeBron leaves, you're going to be terrible because Isaiah Thomas will leave and Kevin Love, he's good. He'll be great in fantasy, but he's not going to bring you, he's not going to bring you into the playoffs by himself. He couldn't do it in the prime of his career. He's not going to be able to do it in the twilight. So I think that if they make a good let's say they get Colin Sexton with like the 8th pick in the draft. Explosive point guard. Then they're terrible, and they end up snagging a guy like if Zion Williamson develops or Cameron Reddish. Big wing guys that can really dominate the ball and be good two-way players in the pros. They could be good within 4 or 5 years, but the thing is that the Cavs have never been a great organizational team, and great organizations from a management standpoint tend to rebuild better, like the Celtics, who were able to stay pretty competitive throughout their entire rebuild, due to that fleece that they got with the Nets. But, I mean, look, this is the same team that took Anthony Bennett when, they could have had Oladipo or Gobert or, Giannis. This is the same team that took Tristan Thompson in that 2014 draft, and, he's been okay, but there were better selections in there. And I don't know if I have enough faith in them to be a great drafting team to rebuild quickly. But best case scenario, they're a playoff team by the time that Ben Simmons is winning MVPs.
All right. Dwane Casey was announced as the All-Star coach for Team LeBron. Because Brad Stevens.
Boo!
Save it for when I'm done. Because Brad Stevens coached last year, so he can't do it. Dwane Casey's next up. Cole, if you're an all-star, how much are you actually doing what the coach says? And also, how much is the coach actually telling you to do,
Bro, you asked him that question like he's been in an NBA all-star game.
Well,
What are you saying? Me and Dwayne.
put yourself in the place of an all-star.
All right. So I don't think any of the all-stars really listen to the coach, but this is a big accomplishment more for Dwane Casey as an individual for his career, and it's big for Toronto. Do I think any of players actually follow plays in the All-Star game? No. It looks like five out, just 1v1 ISO the past few years. So it depends if that changes this year. If he actually has some sort of input and he actually gets people to listen. But when you're dealing with personalities like LeBron James, Russell Westbrook,
Durant,
Kevin Durant on a team, you're probably not going to get that, especially if they're just goofing off.
So I agree that they're not going to listen to anything he says, but do you think he's even going to try? Do you think he's going to try doing any kind of planning or anything, or is he just going to try and make some lineups and get everyone in the game and things like that?
Bro, listen, it's going to be like close at the end of the game, and then like Steve Kerr is going to like ISO DeRozan, and he's going to be like, what do we do? Like, how are we going to stop this? And he's like, DeRozan's just going to beat them with an isolation, because apparently Dwane Casey thinks that's the most unstoppable play in the history of the league. So, I don't know.
The weird thing about that is Lowry has consistently been better in the clutch, but they always give it to DeRozan anyway.
That's not true.
That's my all-star coach right there. That's the guy I want coaching my all-star team.
Yeah, well, you know what? Say what you want to about Dwane Casey. He's shown huge improvements. They were like, please stop doing the ISO thing. So we finally stopped, made it a pretty impressive offense. They're looking really good this year, moving the ball, getting plenty of assists, hitting threes. Obviously, he has his flaws,
No.
The whole last 2 minutes of the game and all that.
I refuse to give him any credit.
The question's for Hadi. Hadi, how much more do you think Dwane Casey can improve? How much room does he have? Do you think he can clean up those flaws in his game and really become a top coach, or is this kind of his ceiling?
I mean, from the beginning, when he came to coach of the Raptors, you saw he was like the defensive coach. He's definitely improved something. I think he's kind of like a player's coach. Like I'm pretty sure a lot like the players, they really like him as a coach. He preaches like hard work and stuff. I mean, his flaws, like as you've said, it's he's not great at in-game like adjustments or in crunch time. His rotations are just sometimes they just seem all over and they just don't seem to have a reason to them. I mean, I'm not going to say he can't get better, but I think it depends how. I'm going to wait until this postseason because that's really when I think you judge the coaching. See how they do against these teams, because in playoffs it's like much more of like a mental thing where it's the two coaches. You have a potential 7-game series. They gotta really strategize. So I think he can get better. Willie, I mean, I don't think that much. Not like maybe not noticeably. No.
That's a really good point, because anything could happen this playoffs. It could go either way. They could suddenly become the best team in the East. They could suddenly become the Phoenix Suns. Anything could happen at this point.
They usually become the Phoenix Suns. I just want to put that on record.
This is an Eastern Conference final team you're talking about here. Took 2 games off the championship Cavs, all right?
Yeah, they also had Paul George almost beat them by himself.
Speaking of Paul George, All-Star now. Thank you for that transition. He's an All-Star now. We've been seeing lots and lots of All-Stars get injured. DeMarcus Cousins got injured. His replacement, Paul George. Hadi, what do you think of that?
I like it. I mean, he's been an all-star for the past, 4 or 5 years, except for, I think, 2015. He wasn't an all-star. But he's like, a really active defensive player. I'm pretty sure he's leading the league in steals right now.
Yeah.
He has most deflections. He's just... we know, he's a great two-way player. A lot of people were mad it wasn't Lou Will. And I mean, in my opinion, I would have been happy with either of them. I'd like to see Lou Will in the All-Star game, but they have comparable stats. So I don't think it was a bad decision at all.
All right. John Wall got injured. You would think that they would replace him with another guard, but no, and it's Andre Drummond. Cole, what do you think of Andre Drummond?
I find it absolutely criminal that I was not given the next news tab. You know what? Me being a Miami fanboy, I'm going to get over it. Shouts out to my boy, Goran. But anyway, this was a disappointment, to say the least. John Wall is a very exciting player. Speedy, can jump high, athletic, finishes at the rim, can shoot a little bit. And then flip that to Andre Drummond, a slow, hulking, great player nonetheless, but not
I don't know about all that.
Not an all-star type. I don't know. Who do you want to watch in the all-star game? John Wall or Andre Drummond? John Wall.
But that's not the question, Cole. He's injured. So who do you think should have replaced him? Other than Drummond.
Oh. My bad. Ben Simmons would be the next obvious person. Just because he's more exciting than Drummond, in my opinion.
All right. Moving on. Kevin Love broke his hand. He's out for 6 to 8 weeks. In his place is Goran Dragic. I made sure Cole doesn't answer this one because Cole is a bandwagon Miami fan asshole. Mike, what do you think of this?
Look, man. Dragic, he can play, and I think what this was mostly signifying was that, you can't, it's really strange that there's a 4 seed in a conference without an all-star. But look, man, there's 2 guys that I think should have made it over Drummond and Dragic, and it's Kemba Walker and Ben Simmons. And, when you look at Dragic's, his impact on the game, his net rating is almost -4. When he's on the floor for the Heat, the team is under league average, I guess, net rating, or not league, but they're just in a negative net rating. Meanwhile, Ben Simmons is nearly at +3, and Kemba's nearly +5, and it's even more impressive with Kemba when you really think about it, because he's averaging 22 points a game on a horrible team, and he's still posting a positive net rating. Right? So when he's on the floor, they're a good team. To me, Kemba Walker has always been a slightly worse version of Kyrie Irving. But I think you put Kyrie in a situation the way Kemba's in, and he's probably playing the same way, and I think the team is probably performing the same way. I mean, Kyrie went from probably the second or the first greatest brain in basketball in LeBron to the third in Brad Stevens. And, Kemba's stuck with Steve something. I can't remember his name, but he coaches there, and he's okay, but they just don't have the personnel. So I get why they'd pick Dragic, but man, like, Ben Simmons he's a freaking nature. People want to see him play. He had 19, 15, and 14 the other night. He's had 3 straight 20-point games. I mean, it's hard for me to argue. I mean, if I was, like, I would take Whiteside before him as an all-star. Just because Whiteside, he blocks shots, he got dunks and stuff. And I think another thing that you might want to talk about with Dragic is this might be the only time he ever makes an all-star team. He's on the backside of his prime, and he's been a fringe all-star for a long time. So, the NBA and the coaches might look at it like this. Like, Ben Simmons is going to be an all-star for the rest of his life, right? He's going to play 15 years, hopefully, and he's probably going to be a 14, 13-time all-star. So let's just give it to the older guy. His team's doing better, but, I mean, would you rather see Goran Dragic perfectly execute offense or Ben Simmons crossover Steph Curry and dunk on KD? That's the question.
He can't do that, so...
I'd rather watch Hassan Whiteside dunk on people, to be honest.
Hassan Whiteside is
big.
Yeah, I mean, he's okay. Like, he's like a little, like, Gobert, like, he's bad version of Gobert. Not
He's a
bad.
better version of Gobert, chill.
No, he's not.
Okay, look, just because I remember just now, Jaylen Brown thought he should be an all-star over Drummond.
No.
I think that's absolutely 100% not true. He does not deserve to be an all-star. Let's see what everyone thinks. Mike, what do you think?
Look, man. Jaylen Brown's going to be an all-star at one point in his career. He's a good player, great two-way player, but at this point in his career, he's Robert Covington. He hits threes and he plays defense, right? Nobody is saying Robert Covington's going to be an all-star. He's a fine player, but he's not an all-star. Like, Jaylen has to understand his time's going to come. With the next couple years where he's that good, but he's not that good right now, so maybe, he should stop acting like he is, because it's only going to put a target on his back a little bit more for these guys who do deserve it. I mean, I don't know. I think him and Tatum are going to be really good as a tandem in the future, but they're not at that level yet, and I think Tatum knows, and Jaylen seems not to, so.
Cole, do you think Jaylen Brown should be an all-star over Drummond?
In terms of excitement, maybe, but in terms of, I don't know. I just think his stats are okay, but like it'd be interesting to see if he was actually playing that way on a team that's garbage, or like Michael said, once his opportunity comes, if he can actually play at like above what he's playing now, or
like he's averaging 14 and 5. Like, we're not getting 14 and 5 guys in all-star appearance. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
I'm not a huge Drummond guy, but, like, he is averaging, like, 15 and 15. Like, he has the numbers for it.
He leads the NBA in rebounds.
Yeah. Like, come on. He's not...
Hadi, do you think Jaylen Brown should be an all-star?
No. I mean, I actually really, really do like Jaylen Brown, but, I don't see all the outrage. It's, as you guys have said, it's Drummond, 100%.
Yeah, and that's coming from a fantasy owner of Jaylen Brown.
I know.
So you know it's serious. Right.
I
Probably the biggest
Hadi
thing that happened this week. Blake Griffin traded to the Pistons. Mike, do you think this trade is a good trade for Detroit?
No. No. I think, well, I don't want to seem like a hater, but I honest to God think that Blake Griffin is the most overrated player in the history of the NBA. Like, he's just like a guy that, like, jumps. Like, that's his whole thing. I don't know. I think, for the Clippers, they got rid of $170 million. Now the Pistons are stuck with a guy who can't shoot, who has a worse mid-range percentage than Ben Simmons. Can't shoot. He's not a great ball handler. He's okay. He's a decent, okay passer, and he just kind of relies on his athleticism. Do you want to be paying a guy at 33 years old $38 million who relies on their athleticism? No. That's why Isaiah Thomas isn't going to get a max deal now, because the guy can't move like he used to. So who's going to take a 5'7" guy, even if he's a great shooter? Blake Griffin, as soon as his knees fully go out, they've been trying to go out for a while, he's done. And now the Pistons are stuck paying his contract because nobody's going to take him after a couple of years from now. I think what the Clippers are trying to do is cool. They're trying to literally clear everyone out. They're gonna let go of Avery Bradley and let him go get a contract. They're gonna trying to get rid of DeAndre and Lou Will. They're gonna have nobody on their roster, a lot of cap space, and they're gonna basically say, Boogie, Paul George, LeBron, we got 3 spots for you, and see if they bite, because it's gonna be a clean slate, and they'll be able to basically rebuild their own franchise within a season with a lot of spending and drafting. I like it.
All right, Hadi. Clippers got a couple picks from that deal, but they also got some pretty good players. You got people like Avery Bradley and Tobias Harris. These are good players, right? Yeah. Do you think the Clippers' future is closer than it seems right now?
I mean, a big thing that I was thinking about with this trade was, I wouldn't say that they're not in a rebuild mode, but I guess you could say, they're in a retooling, I guess. And for me, that's not, I guess you could say that's not what Doc Rivers signed up for when he agreed to the contract, when he started to coach the Clippers. When he came in, he had these guys, he wanted to make a run. And now they're not in rebuild, but they're kind of in that limbo phase. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. The picks are not that good, are they? A
Detroit pick is a mid-round pick, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean,
and the Celtics have their pick in 2 years somehow because they have all the bad teams' picks.
Yeah, so I'm not seeing, and honestly, with the Western Conference, I'm not seeing them making a solid run in a while. I think Doc is not going to have a good future with them at all. What they could do, potentially, is, let's say, try to flip Harris or Bradley or something for more picks. I don't know if they would consider doing that, but I don't see them making a run in the future. Not with the current West.
What they do have is Sweet Lou.
They do have Sweet Lou, yeah.
Okay, next news. I don't know what to say about this one, so I'm just going to say it and then someone else say something. Metta World Peace is going on Celebrity Big Brother.
That's just phenomenal TV. Yeah, whoever had that idea should get a raise. I think I've watched, Big Brother, 3 times in my life, and I've never... I don't fully understand the concept of it, but I understand it enough to know that it's built for a guy like Ron Artest. So, I'm sorry, Metta World Peace. Shout out to that man.
I've never seen it, but he's just an entertaining guy.
Yeah, I love him. Kobe passed me the ball. Never forget.
Okay, on to some real news. Jabari Parker is set to make his season debut versus the Knicks on Friday. Cole, in a season where the Bucks have been a little bit disappointing, there's kind of been blame thrown around. Do you think he's the player that can take them to the next level? And let me add before you answer, I found these stats the other day. This is the current top 5 teams in the East. Last season, Jabari Parker's plus-minus against them. Okay? In one game against the Celtics, Jabari was -5. In 3 games against Cleveland, he was -6. In 4 games against Miami, he was -18. In 3 games against Toronto, he was -11. In 4 games against Washington, he was -4. With that, Cole, what do you think?
Well, no one really plays well, first of all, against Miami, because Miami is just a great overall team.
That's enough. Focus.
Yeah.
Hit him with the vice principal. That's enough.
Take them to the next level.
You say he will, he won't.
He won't.
Okay.
All right. Well, obviously, Jason Kidd took the blame for this season. He was fired. He was kicked out. Mike, do you think if he had a chance to coach with Jabari on the team, it would have made any difference?
Absolutely not. The problem with Jason Kidd is that he didn't know how to coach a defense full of really, really good defenders. Jabari Parker's worst part of his game is defense. You look at the Milwaukee Bucks right now. All right? They look great. As soon as he left, they started looking great. I don't know. I think, as good as Jason Kidd is, I shouldn't say that because as we're recording, they're getting absolutely destroyed by the Bucks. By the Timberwolves. But they've looked really good since they came out. They're on a 3-4 4-game winning streak since they fired Jason Kidd. And they're probably going to lose tonight. But look, Jabari Parker, he can score the ball. He is a great scorer of the basketball. He reminds me a lot of Carmelo Anthony. What he isn't is a great defender. So he probably would have worked fine in that Jason Kidd offense, and he probably wouldn't have contributed much to the Jason Kidd defense. I want to point something out. I talk about how they weren't a great defensive team with Jason Kidd. Their last 4 games, 105 points, 91 points, 96 points, 95 points allowed as soon as Jason Kidd leaves.
Wow.
So, before, you look at it, 108 to the Warriors, 103 to the Magic, 109 to the Pacers, 103 to the Wizards. When you start using that personnel correctly, things change. Okay? Another thing is that they hated each other, so no. Yeah. He was happy that they got fired. I forgot about that. But yeah, Jabari is good. He'd be a third or fourth. He'd be a third option on a good team, I think, in his prime to win the championship. But he's not saving your job. Giannis maybe, but no, not him.
Okay. All right. Kristaps Porzingis has asked the Knicks to sign some vets because he thinks it'll help them make the playoffs. He really want to make the playoffs. Cole, do you think this Knicks team showed a lot of promise at the beginning of the year, then they took a steep fall? Do you think vets are enough to take them over that gap, bring them into the top 8?
Yeah, I believe it, but I don't think they'll make it through the first round. I mean, Porzingis is a fantastic player, and then you have a scorer like Courtney Lee, and then some other role players. But I don't think any vets are going to change them getting any further in the playoffs. I understand what Porzingis is talking about. He wants him as a player to get playoff experience, so that by the time he gets a bit older and a bit more fashioned of a player, he can actually go out into the playoffs and make a statement. But I don't think the vets are going to be enough to actually push them into further into the playoffs. But yes, into the playoffs.
All right, Hadi. We see a lot of teams that show a lot of potential. Teams like Philly, teams like the Suns, maybe the Celtics. A lot of teams that are showing they can really fight for a championship in the future. Do you think the Knicks are part of these teams?
Well, I'm going to have to say no. However, this might seem blasphemous to say, but I was just looking at their roster, and I don't know why, but I'm getting the feeling they're they have the opportunity to become sort of like a very, very, very bad Spurs, in the sense that they seem to be drafting these like international guys like Kristaps, Frank, I can't pronounce his last name, Frank Nikidla. They got Cantor. I mean, they're in terms of the future, they have Hardaway Jr., Courtney Lee, but I mean, are the playoffs in their future? Sure, but are they going to make it far? No, I don't think so. I mean, the good thing is that they have the star that rebuilding teams are try to get in Porzingis. I think he is that good. He can be that central guy, but I just don't think they're going to develop or get what they need to get far in the playoffs.
They could probably use 1 or 2 more lottery picks.
Oh yeah.
Can I just say one quick thing? This guy's dumb. Like, your team isn't good. Why are you gonna waste your time being the 8th seed if you could get like Luka Doncic or like Marvin Bagley, like Michael Porter? Like, these are teams, like, would you rather be like, oh, we get the 8th seed, and next year we get the 7th seed, and then the prime we get to the second round and we lose to Kyrie and Jason Tatum? Or do you want to be like, I'm going to go grab the light-skinned Kevin Durant, we're going to be bad for another year, and then we can actually compete at one point? All right, I'm done.
His claim is that he needs playoff experience now in his career.
Yeah, well, you can get playoff experience when you got talent around you instead of drafting 16th for 5 years and then leaving to go join someone.
I agree with you.
Yeah, trust the process, man.
All right. Speaking of promising teams, Phoenix Suns general manager plans on making win-now moves. He thinks the team is ready to take it to the next level. Cole, what are some players that you think can help them take it to that next level?
Pass on me because no one can help them get to the next level.
Mike, you have any players that can help them?
I just think that's code for we're trading TJ Warren for someone, because I think they're all going to go all in on Josh Jackson because he's gotten a lot better throughout the season, and we saw that with Brandon Ingram last year, and he looks a lot better this year. And I think Brandon Ingram and Josh Jackson both have like the potential to be like better versions of Chris Middleton. And so I think that just means they're going to try to trade like I can see them trading like TJ Warren, maybe Dragon Bender. Like I think they're trying to evaluate which young guys are pieces and which young guys they can trade for like vets. Kemba would be interesting, but I feel like with Kemba they have just like the Eric Bledsoe problem again. I'm not really sure why they don't want to just wait it out, because they tried to win now with Bledsoe and it didn't work. They tried to win now with Tyson Chandler and Greg Monroe and it just still hasn't worked. But yeah, if I had to guess, I'm guessing that they're going to get someone on the backside of their prime, like maybe Carmelo Anthony next year or something like that, who can just, come in and sort of just be a leader, and, they can disguise that as a win now move. But look, the next 5 years, or 3 years, I'll say, the Warriors are going to be the best team. The Rockets are going to be the second best team. The Timberwolves are probably going to be the third best team. The Thunder will probably be the fourth best team, and the Spurs will probably be the fifth best team. Depending on what happens with LeBron and Kawhi, they could be, closer to the first. That leaves you 6 spots. You've got Jokic, Gary Harris, and Jamal Murray all getting better in Denver. You got Dame and CJ in the prime of their careers in Portland. You've got the Lakers who are going to come hard for that spot because they got more young guys than you, and Nance, Randall, Clarkson, Lonzo, and all those guys, Kuzma and Ingram. So it's going to be really hard to get a playoff spot fast, and I don't know if giving up all those young assets right now is the best thing to do.
Well, you know what the Suns have?
Tyler Ulis?
I read something the other day. Devin Booker has now scored more 30-point games in his career than Hakeem or something like that in his first 3 years.
Doesn't matter, though. It's not translating to wins.
Devin Booker is just Clay on a bad team. Like, that's all he is. If Clay was drafted to the Suns, like, whenever he was, he'd be this good now.
Look, I don't care what kind of player you are. If you scored 70 points in a game, you have my respect. It doesn't matter.
I'm not saying he's not good. I'm just saying he's not transcendent. Like, people want to treat him like he's Kobe. He's not Kobe. He's Klay Thompson. That's not a bad thing.
If Terrence Ross scored 70 points in a game, I would worship him.
Terrence Ross?
Yeah, that's my most hated player.
Terrence Ross is good.
Even more than Horford?
Horford is my most hated player. But I don't like T. Ross. That's the point here. Let's just go to the next one.
Let's go move on.
Mike, Mike, I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Hadi about the Knicks. Do you see this as a team that could potentially win a championship in the future?
No. This is one of those teams where it's like a Tracy McGrady or like a Gilbert Arenas team where it's like they're going to have a top 10 guy. I don't think their organization is good enough to draft or trade or sign for guys that are good enough to surround him. So he'll be great individually, and I think Devin Booker might be a Hall of Famer in terms of talent, but I think they're going to be like top second round. Unless they strike. Like, if they end up tanking badly and they end up like drafting like DeAndre Ayton, then yeah, I could see it. But like, because a big man on that team would be really cool. The problem is that, they've just done a really good job at drafting busts for a really long time. I don't know. I don't see the Suns like. This is a team that traded away Joe Johnson for cash in his prime. So I'm not gonna put my faith in these guys. I think the Lakers are gonna be really good in a few years. The Celtics are gonna be really good. The Warriors are gonna be pretty great for a while. You got teams like the Nuggets, the Kings, the Bulls that all have young cores. They just don't have the best young core of all of them. They have like one of the better young players, but I'm still taking Towns. I'm still taking Porzingis. I'm still taking, Jokic maybe, I don't know. And I'm still taking, what's his face, Ben Simmons and Jason Tatum and Joel Embiid all over Devin Booker. So yeah, I don't know. I'm reluctant to say that they're a championship squad. I think they're a playoff squad in the future, but not a championship squad.
Yeah, fair enough. Here's an exciting one. James Harden gets the first ever 60-point triple-double in the NBA. Hadi, what do you think's more impressive, 60-point triple-double or DeMarcus Cousins' 40-20 triple-double?
I definitely think Harden's was more impressive. He was 19 for 30, 17 for 8 of 18 free throws. Not to disregard Cousins at all. He had 44, 24, 10 in 52 minutes of play. He shot really well. Honestly, both were so impressive, but I got to go with Harden for sure. Harden is he's playing insane. He's playing insane right now.
Mike, is there a championship in James Harden's future?
Oh, I wish there was. An MVP trophy, there should be 3 after this year, in my opinion. Because Russell Westbrook's about to average a triple-double again, and guess what? Nobody cares, because it doesn't matter. And to me, 60-point triple-double is crazy, but the more important thing to me is he did it 19 for 30 and 17 for 18. I mean, the guy couldn't miss. The other thing is, they could have 5-man teamed him. The guys on the floor with him, no Chris Paul, no Ariza, no Eric Gordon. So as far as shot creators, that's your 3 other shot creators. Capella's a good offensive player around the basket, but he's not going to put up 30 when you need it. At this point in his career, I think he's developing a little hook shot. He had a mid-range jumper. He's trying to get better. I get it. But yeah, look. He did this by himself against Jonathan Simmons, who shut him down in the West semifinals last year. So it's not like he was, defended by Isaiah Thomas. He was defended by the very man who made him look silly and made everyone laugh at him last year. He was also, we talk about it as the worst team in the league. Jonathan Simmons is not a bad defender. He would, I remember one of the games in the Western Conference Finals, I think KD didn't miss against any opponent that guarded him, and then he went 1 for 6 against Jonathan Simmons. He's that good, of a defender, and I think what he did, 60 points. I mean, the dude's the best one-on-one offensive player in the league. He's better than Durant. Curry might be a better shooter than him, but he can't, go one-on-one with guys like Harden can. And I love Kyrie, but man, Kyrie, he doesn't have the size that James Harden does. James Harden goes wherever he wants, whenever he wants it, and when he's on fire, he might be more unstoppable than any player since Kobe. In terms of just one-on-one skill. Obviously, LeBron with just brute force is better than James Harden, but man, he's something else. I think that, but I just realized I just talked for 2 minutes and then didn't actually answer the question. No championship unless LeBron comes and they find a way to keep Capella and one of Eric Gordon or Trevor Ariza. But I think he's going to go down as one of the 3 best players with Charles Barkley and probably T-Mac as one of the 3 greatest players to never win a ring.
Yeah. It's kind of sad.
Look, he just came in at the wrong time. No one's winning. All
right.
Sorry, I want to replace that. Charles Barkley, Karl Malone, the mailman, of course. And him.
The mailman!
Yeah, I don't know why I said
Iverson.
T-Mac. I was just in a T-Mac mentality, I guess.
All right, last bit of news. Dwyane Wade passes Larry Bird in all-time scoring for 32nd, and LeBron passes Dirk in all-time field goals made in 8th. Hadi, these guys are old. How many years do they have left in them?
I mean, LeBron's 33. Dwyane Wade is 36, I think. LeBron definitely has until I'd say 36, 37 to keep playing at this ridiculously high level. I even say 38. I think, his, we've said it before, his physical health, how he maintains his body is insane. He does a really good job of that. But I think probably as he gets older, he'll evolve, I guess. He'll focus more, even more so on passing and setting up his teammates. I think for 5 years, 6 years, he'll keep playing high level. I feel like he'll play more in the post and just and try to just rip it, get it to the try to get it to his open teammates, which I mean he's already doing. So yeah, I think he'll still play at a high level for a while. Dwyane Wade, he's already settled into his veterans role. In terms of how many more years left he has in the NBA, I don't know. I'd say 2, 3. I'll say 3 maybe. Yeah, I don't really have too much to say on him. Yeah, I guess it depends also if LeBron leaves Cleveland, what he'll do. But yeah, they still have a few more years in them for sure.
If LeBron goes to the Spurs, you think, Mike, he could last a long time. The Spurs players last a long time. They have long careers.
I agree. And honestly,
Cole,
man,
question.
him, I can see it right now. LeBron brings it up the ball. I'm standing up. You can't see me. I'm standing up, making a dribbling motion. He ISOs it, drives, passes it out to Kawhi. Kawhi shoots the 3. He misses. AD gets the rebound, dunks it. The Warriors go down in Game 6. Your Western Conference Finals champions, the San Antonio Spurs. Count on it next year.
Well, you were wrong because...
And then they lose to the Heat in 7.
When Wayne Ellington turns it
Goran, the GOAT.
Oh, Wayne Ellington.
Where you went wrong was when Kawhi missed the 3.
He missed
because
it on purpose.
Kawhi is nailing that 10 times out of 10.
Pop drew it up so that Anthony Davis would get a putback dunk. That's the play. Kawhi specifically missed it off a certain part of the rim.
It was strategic.
Well, my question for you, as a big Miami fan, for anyone who doesn't know, Dwyane Wade's name, sometimes you can miss it if you don't look closely. The Y and the A are switched around. It makes his name is spelled really, really weirdly. It's spelled wrong. Cole, why is it spelled like that? Why is it spelled like Dwyane Wade?
Pretty sure I read an article a while back that said, I believe his grandmother gave him, they wanted Dwayne, but she spelled it that way because she believed that was the way it should be spelled. And I'm pretty sure Dwayne has had a quote where he said, I've misspelled my name a bunch of times, where I actually go DWAY. And he also said that it's very difficult with autocorrect.
That's a perfect answer. All right. That's all the news.
All right. Now on to the big discussions. The first one. As everybody knows, there's a few things that are very certain in the NBA right now. Number 1 is Danny Ainge is evil, and he wants everyone to suffer, including LeBron especially. Number 2 is that Anthony Davis is really, really, really good at basketball, but his teammates usually are really bad. Third of all, we know that Achilles injuries are probably one of the worst up there with the knee ones, and the only player to ever really recover would be Dominique Wilkins, who is not 300 pounds like DeMarcus Cousins. I don't know if DeMarcus Cousins is still 300 pounds. I think he slimmed down. So, all that considered, the Celtics, who have been trying to get Anthony Davis for a very long time, are going to try to swoop in probably now and get that, special, quote-unquote, transcendent player to get on their squad so they can finally assemble a team good enough to beat those evil Warriors. My question to you guys is, what is New Orleans going to do? And how can the Celtics, give me a trade scenario in which the Celtics or another team that you could see them trading for Anthony Davis, what can they offer? So, first we'll start the first one. Is it rebuild time for San Antonio? Hadi, you got the floor.
Is it rebuild time for San Antonio? That's the question, eh?
San Antonio. Did I say San Antonio? I meant New Orleans.
Oh, New Orleans? I mean, right now they're sitting at 7th. For the foreseeable future, you see Golden State, you see Rockets, you see even Timberwolves, you see Thunder. I don't see them beating any or getting past those teams in the playoffs. I mean, whether or not they're in rebuild mode, I'm going to say no. I'm going to say leave it for.
So they're going to try it.
Honestly, I honestly, I'm sorry. I don't know this one. It's tough with Boogie out. Because you could say, well, no one's going to beat the Warriors, so we should all just go into rebuild.
But if
that's
anyone's going to beat the Warriors, right? I would argue, other than the Spurs, it's the Pelicans. They can do the one thing the Warriors have trouble with, which is banging in the post. They don't have bodies like that anymore.
They can, but do they? Like, I don't have the things, but in there, when they face the Warriors, how's it gone?
Anthony Davis averages 35, 13, and 3 blocks against them. That's all you need to know.
Do they win?
They've always had problems with the two of those two guys specifically. The problem has been is that now, like, you can just double team them and let them try to beat you. The question is do they go, we're gonna buy in, re-sign Boogie to that max deal, see if that Achilles works, and we're gonna try to find a way to get shooters and defenders around them, or do we give up and just give away AD, maybe let Cousins walk and start from scratch?
I mean, I don't know. Now that you put it in, I mean, it's true. They do have 2 really good big men. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to say don't rebuild.
All right, Artin, I have a question for you now. Can you please first rebuttal maybe, or add your 2 cents in to what Hadi said, and then add in, other than the Celtics, I know the Warriors said they were going to make a play. I'd personally cry. And the Spurs want to go after him. Can you give me a player ranking, team rankings of the teams you think have the best chance of getting him? And then also, talk about what Hadi said.
Okay. Team rankings. I think it would have to be Celtics first. Just because, you give away someone like Horford, I feel like it's easiest for them to choose the right players and open the cap space at the same time. Golden State, doesn't matter who they're going for. They could be going for, the worst player in the league, but they'd have trouble because of how full their cap is. So I think if they were trying to get Anthony Davis, they'd have to give up a lot more pieces than they'd want to. They're really kind of insistent about keeping the bench the way it is. And, of course, you don't want to give up any starters except, I guess, Zaza Pachulia, who, he's not going to help you at all in any trade. So I have to put Golden State last. I put the Celtics first, and I guess that leaves the Spurs in the middle. The Spurs, I just don't feel like they would make that move. And that's just, I don't know if I have a reason for that, but I feel like that's just not something they would go for. I'd have to put the Celtics on top. I think they have the best chance of getting Anthony Davis.
The only reason I would say that the Spurs would make a play for Anthony Davis is that a very big concern for the Celtics. I mean, for the Spurs is that Kawhi Leonard feels like they haven't been able to attract stars. So maybe it means, giving up some of those lifetime Spurs to make your future Hall of Famer happy. That's why I see them as a play.
Good point. That's a very, very good point. And
cool.
You know what? I guess that just adds to the fuel that LeBron's going to go there. What happens if, I don't know if it's possible. I don't know like what the cap room and stuff like that is. But what if you can get LeBron and Anthony Davis, like you said in your little?
You could actually get LeBron and Anthony Davis, given Davis's current contract, which is very scary, but very beautiful if you really think about it.
That is scary. That's scary. Yeah. That's really terrifying.
You'd have the 5 best players in the league on 2 teams. And then the best part about that is they're in the same conference, so you'd at least get a more interesting Western Conference Finals. Cole, this is an interesting one. I like to talk about this. Danny Ainge, he's shown that he's ruthless, and he will trade anyone, all right? Suppose the Boogie comes back fine, and it's next season, and Danny Ainge decides now or never, but the Pelicans say, why would we trade Anthony Davis? Maybe our team's in 5th or 4th, and we finally clicked, and we've added some pieces. I don't know about you, but adding 2 All-Stars sounds like a good idea, even if you're giving away a top 5 player, because you already have DeMarcus Cousins. The other All-Star that is currently playing for the Boston Celtics is recovering from an injury. However, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown look really good. Do you think that Danny Ainge would give up Al Horford and Gordon Hayward for Anthony Davis if they asked?
In a heartbeat. I don't know who wouldn't.
That's very nuanced. Would you claim to? Would you try to elaborate?
Well, you can't guarantee that Gordon Hayward's going to be the same player. We've seen that Anthony Davis has been a great player this entire season, and they'll probably carry that on through the next season. Al Horford is pretty good defensively, but I'd argue that Anthony Davis is a better rim protector, and he is a better, if not just as good scorer. So, yeah, I think Danny Ainge would make that trade.
Because, yeah, I mean, like,
I think that's a bargain, to be honest.
I think about it, right, and I look at the Pelicans, and you got a team with Drew Holiday, Gordon Hayward, Al Horford, DeMarcus Cousins. That's, like, as good as the Timberwolves and Spurs. Like, that's a team that could actually make the West Finals if something bad happens, right?
Yeah.
On the other side, Jaylen, Jason, Kyrie, Anthony Davis is a championship team, right? So I think it works for both. The question is the ethical thing, which is, do you trade a guy without him ever playing a game for you just because he got hurt? Hadi, Artin, what do you guys think about it?
Artin, you go.
All right, I have some stats that would support Anthony Davis staying with the Pelicans. Because you make a good point about how that whole DeMarcus Cousins and Gordon Hayward, all that big team. But the thing is, Anthony Davis is a lot more important to this team, at least according to the stats. When Anthony Davis is on the court, their offensive rating increases by 1.2. When DeMarcus Cousins is on the court, their offensive rating decreases by 0.3, which is pretty intense. When DeMarcus Cousins is on the court, their turnover percentage increases by 2.5, which is that's pretty big. When Anthony Davis is on the court, their turnover percentage decreases by 0.9. DeMarcus Cousins has a player impact estimate of 16.8. Anthony Davis has a player impact estimate of 18.3. DeMarcus Cousins has a net rating of 1.7. Anthony Davis has a net rating of 4.2. Really, the only thing that DeMarcus Cousins wins over Anthony Davis is just traditional stats. He's got more rebounds, more assists, more steals. That's really all it is. Right? DeMarcus Cousins is plus 1.7. Anthony Davis is plus 2.9. Not to mention DeMarcus Cousins gets 5 turnovers a game. Anthony Davis only gets 2. Another thing is, DeMarcus Cousins is a lot more one-dimensional than Anthony Davis. He's scoring 45% of his points in the paint, 25 in free throw, and 25 in three-pointers, which is pretty much, he doesn't really score anywhere else. Anthony Davis has got his scoring spread all over the place, 15% in mid-range, 7% from the three, which is a lot less than DeMarcus Cousins, but I think that's okay for someone in his position. Scoring 10% on the fast break, 25 from the free throw, and 50% from the paint. His scoring is a lot more spread out all over the place. So I think Anthony Davis is a lot more important to this team than DeMarcus Cousins. And so if you're going to give away Anthony Davis, suddenly your team is looking a lot worse than it would before, and you haven't even really realized it.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you give away someone as good as Anthony Davis, you're going to get worse no matter what. The question is, I think everyone knows that DeMarcus Cousins is the 2 on that team, except maybe him. The question is, if you're going to lose him, if he comes to you and says, look, you guys did nothing for me, I don't feel like I need to be loyal to you, are you going to sit here and regret and say, we could have got 2, B-plus players for an A-plus player, and now we're going to lose out on them? That's why the Gordon Hayward Al Horford thing is so scary, because it's like you're genuinely getting back 2 guys that can get you pretty damn far in the playoffs. I mean, of course, you're not going to get Anthony Davis back for Anthony Davis, but if that's the closest thing you can get, Hadi, do you think they should just give it up if that trade's put on the table? Especially if they know that Davis is sort of waning, saying no to his future in New Orleans?
That's really tough. I mean, I don't know. I think that's key. A big thing is how he's feeling about the organization and about the team. I don't know too much about like the culture, right, of New Orleans. But if the offer was presented, do you take it? Okay, well, I guess here's a question. So you're saying if the offer,
I'm saying, right, Danny Ainge has been aggressive. You know that he wants.
Yeah.
You know that he wants Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis is starting to show signs that he doesn't want to be there. Your team keeps getting bounced in the first round. Cousins doesn't come back right. And then Danny Ainge says, look, your team isn't playing well at all. Like, you guys really aren't in good shape. I can give you 2 All-Stars for your 1 superstar. Why are you taking it?
And you're referring to Hayward and Horford?
Horford, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's really tough. I don't know. I'd take it, I guess. If Davis, I mean, I guess in a sense it's kind of like a sort of a lose-lose, but if Davis is not happy with how the team's going and the organization decides that they need kind of some fresh blood, I mean, why not? Hayward is excellent. Horford is terrible, but they're both all-stars, so yeah.
All right, Cole, do you see any other dark horse candidates for a team that can get Anthony Davis that puts them in contention?
Miami.
Oh my God! You know what? I'm gonna give you that.
Goran.
Nobody actually.
That's not even a compliment to Miami. You're not complimenting Miami. You're just saying maybe they trade for him.
Zoran.
No, I can actually see that.
I'm saying they're a dark horse.
No, I agree with Cole. I could definitely see Anthony Davis going there because if there's one thing we know is that, man, Miami's a fun city. It's a big market, and
it's attractive.
Look, LA is in shambles. Guys aren't gonna go want to play where LeVar is because they won't be the biggest star in the city. New York sucks and it's cold. Miami might be the best free agent destination other than Boston. Boston's cold too. If he wants more that way, I think just because Cole's a Heat fan, we think he's joking. I think that's actually not a bad suggestion at all.
Clear water and big checks, baby.
Yeah. Honest, and look, there's I think, I think it's very minimal tax there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And Eric Spoelstra's a great coach.
He is. He can. The problem with that argument, though, is Cole, is that the teams that are trying to get him all have very good coaches, right? Brad Stevens and Pop are probably the 2 best in the league, and Kerr's definitely top 5. So I don't know, but I think Spoelstra's closer than people think. All right, I think that's all good. The second one, a little bit more fun, a little bit less depressing because it makes us think less about super teams that will dominate and more like super teams that will compete, and that is that of LeBron James's free agency. LeBron, as we all know, is either the best or maybe 1B in the league at this point in his career, and he's been the best for about 7 years at this point. One of the great players of all time, arguably the greatest of all time. In my opinion, probably the 3rd best player of all time, maybe the 2nd. But he is going to be a free agent, and the Cavs suck. Kevin Love just got hurt. Isaiah Thomas is horrible, and the rest of their team doesn't play defense. It does not look like they're going to come back and play. He's going to come back, and it looks like he's going to lose to his old buddy Kyrie in the first round, which will make him angry. Given that he will probably leave, there are a lot of suitors for him. There's the Golden State Warriors, who this morning announced they wanted to make a play at him that I really hope he doesn't do. The San Antonio Spurs, who need a second guy, as they've proven that even with role players and only 1 star, they can compete with that Golden State Warrior team when fully healthy. The Houston Rockets, who have the roster best suited for LeBron, but would have to give up a lot to get him. The Sixers and the Lakers, 2 big market young teams that could possibly carry LeBron to championships later into his career as he tries to build his resume against Michael Jordan to be the greatest that ever played. And, even maybe going back to Cleveland. So, Cole, give me the team you think he's going back to, not Miami. And
I was going to say Miami.
I knew you were going to say Miami. And I mean, you can make your case for Miami, I guess, but of the teams that have been seriously interested in him, also give me your take. Who do you think is the best shot?
I just want to clarify the Warriors thing. It wasn't them that made the claim. I believe it was someone on LeBron's side that's trying to stir up a conversation so that the Warriors have something to talk about. I believe from the Warriors' end, they're looking at their team right now and they're saying there's literally no chance we're going to lose in the finals. So I think when the the off season comes, they'll make that decision. But I don't think the Warriors started this at all. I don't think they're looking to trade anyone on their team right now.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting idea because like all of a sudden Claymon's kind of like looking at themselves like, are we about to get shipped off to Cleveland from San Francisco for a 33-year-old? Like, yeah. I could definitely see what you mean.
Yeah, in terms of most attractive, I'd say I believe San Antonio. I think LeBron respects Pop so much as a coach and as a persona in the NBA. That team is just, it's a lot of like, there's no great players. Obviously there's Kawhi and LaMarcus, but besides that, they're not great players. They're just within a really strong, well run system. And I think if LeBron goes there, I don't think he'd have to like again in Houston, he won't have to score as much. But I think also in San Antonio, he won't have to do as much. He can rely a bit. If Kawhi stays, he won't have to rely much on scoring. Kawhi's a great defender. LaMarcus Aldridge will put in buckets and rebounds. So I think San Antonio is the best destination for him.
Artin, where's your best destination for LeBron?
Best destination. I like Spurs. I think Pop might be the only coach that LeBron will actually listen to, which is a big thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's not going to listen to Dwane Casey, you know? And maybe the really good coaches, someone like Brad Stevens, Steve Kerr, he'll kind of take it into account, do what they say. But I feel like Pop is the only coach that he would really take part in everything that he has to say. So I like Spurs. I like Golden State more than anything, just because I want to see what happens.
No.
How would that work? We were talking earlier today about a lineup with LeBron at center, and then you have the current starting four for the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah,
that's scary.
That wouldn't happen. They would have to give up Clay and Draymond to get LeBron, which is scary.
There's no way.
Yeah, like
hypothetical. It would just. That's just such a. Even imagining that is difficult because of how dominant it would be. There's nothing you could do. There's just nothing you could do, especially because of how defensively good it would be as well. It's just unbelievable to think about. So I like Golden State just because it would be fun to see. It would be interesting to see what happens. I think realistically, it would have to be Spurs. And Miami's another option. He likes Spelstra. Him and Spelstra must be good friends because of all that time. I'm sure he loves the city. Everyone loves Miami. But bottom line, I feel like Spurs might be the most realistic destination for him. And I think there's a good chance he'll stay at the Cavs as well. I don't think it's that 100% that he'll leave, quite frankly. But I'm going to say Spurs.
Hadi, what's your best destination for LeBron James?
I kind of like the idea of him going to the Sixers or the Lakers to be kind of that guy to build a team of young guys with, his IQ. The thing is, though, he obviously wants to win, and I don't think that happened, at least for a couple of years, if he joins, one of these young teams. But I actually agree with Artin. I think there's a good chance he'll stay in Cleveland. If he goes to Golden State, which I believe there's a 0.001% chance, I'm going to switch to tennis. And that's all I have to say on that, to be honest.
Okay, so
can I just make a quick point?
Yeah.
In my opinion, I think there's a bigger chance that LeBron would actually take a year off before going back to Cleveland.
I think he might take a year off before doing anything. Because here's the thing, right? The two young teams that could possibly carry him off into the sunset, if he sees Joel Embiid play 2 full years healthy, well, not full years, but 2 years healthy, and they go to the second round, and then, Lonzo and Brandon Ingram and Kuzma all take a step forward, you might be like, okay, I can see like that this might be a good idea for me. From the Spurs standpoint, you can see what happens with them and Kawhi, especially if, things are going well, then halfway through he goes to Pop and says, hey, like, at the end of the year, coming out of retirement, I'll sign with you guys. That way, as long as Kawhi's healthy, he can figure out what's going on there. It makes sense. I mean, the NBA is in this and next year and last year are going to be the most dominant years by any team in NBA history. Like, other than maybe the Jordan years, but even the Jordan years, they were threats. There's no chance LeBron wins unless he goes to the Spurs and they out-execute the Warriors. But I don't know. I could see him going 1 year retiring. The only thing I wouldn't like is all the anti-LeBron people talking about how Kevin Durant put LeBron into retirement. Like, shut up. Shaq didn't put, MJ into retirement. Karl Malone didn't scare LeBron in the finals against Utah after he won and went, I need to retire. So I would be annoyed at those people, but that's not a big gripe for him. Sorry?
Does anyone think there's a chance that he goes to Boston?
No.
No.
Because he can't go join Kyrie. They'll just look bad. And I don't know, I feel like LeBron's always liked to take a big, smelly shit on the Celtics. Like, that's been a thing he really loves. Because they just bullied him so much when he was a kid. And so I don't know. I think LeBron versus the Celtics is up there with LeBron versus the Spurs for the best LeBron rivalry because he's outlived all his rivals. And I don't think LeBron versus KD is a rivalry because before KD hopped on a team with Steph, he was 4-17 versus LeBron. So I don't know. I think that he likes to beat the big super duper teams in the league, which is why he didn't join the Lakers or the Celtics in when he first left to Miami. He wanted to create his own thing and take down the people that took him down and had him, kind of stuck. All right. So another thing I want to talk about LeBron with is the Cavs don't look good right now. They've lost their second best player. However, if there's one thing we know about the Cavs, it's that the regular season and the postseason are very different. However, they've never looked this bad, and they've never been this injury, decimated. Do the Cavs still make the finals? If not, let's say that the NBA playoffs started today. They'd have to go through I think they have to go through the Bucks, then they'd have to go to Toronto, and then they have to go through Boston. Where do they lose, Cole? If they lose. Well, I mean, they don't have to go to Boston. Miami or whoever the 8th seed is could beat them.
I like that.
But
I think they go to the finals. To be honest, I think wait right now.
Like, let's say I'm just saying the playoffs start with the current seedings.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just in the past years, I think I talked about this in the last episode for a bit. Just over the past years, the one thing that's been clear is teams that do well in the playoffs are very strong when they have a lot of veterans on them. I think we're giving Boston, they're doing a great job, but we're giving them a little bit too much credit. I think people are starting to see now, we're seeing a little bit of decline in the numbers from the Boston players.
Especially
they're
the young
starting
guys.
to get tired. Sorry?
Especially the young guys.
Young guys, yeah, that's what I meant. Sorry. Like the rookies, like Jason Tatum.
Yeah, and Jaylen Brown, Semi, and all those guys.
Yeah, so they're starting to wind down a bit. They're starting to get off that insane streak because after the start of the season when they're fresh. So it's a very different type of atmosphere in the playoffs, And I think the Cavs, they're very veteran heavy and they have a lot of playoff experience. So when it gets into those games where you're going to play one team, the same set of guys, 5 different times instead of a week and a half, I think it's a totally different atmosphere, and I think the Cavs are better prepared than any other team in the East right now. So that is mainly the reason why I think they'll make it to the finals.
Hadi, what's your take?
I'd have to tend to agree with Cole because, it's just a big thing with the veterans. as I said earlier, playoffs is much more of a thinking game. I don't know. Every year for the past 3 years, I've thought the same thing. Oh, they're not doing as well. And I'm pretty sure it's around the same time in every season too. Maybe there's a chance, right now they would actually face the Pacers.
I thought they were playing the Bucks.
So I mean, they obviously, I believe they can beat them. I don't know. I've been burned too many times. I'm going with Cole. They're making the finals.
Artin, I know you have said all year the Raptors are going to make the finals. They're going to beat the Cavs and beat the Celtics. Do you still feel that way?
It's a joke.
Yeah, I still feel that way. I'm not going to talk about the Raptors right now. I'll talk about the Cavs. To me, the Cavs aren't bad this year. They're hardly a team, right? The problem isn't that, LeBron's been slacking and blah, blah, blah. The problem is that D Rose left the team for 3 weeks and then came back and nothing happened. It made no difference whatsoever.
He got married. Hey, relax, man. The big thing happened in his life. He got married.
But I'm talking in a basketball perspective right now. I mean, I'm talking about how J.R. Smith has been so bad. He's hardly been a player. I'm talking about how this team is dysfunctional. The players aren't. It's like the Monstars. It's ridiculous. They can't play basketball anymore. And I don't see how you can just switch that back on. We've seen the Cavs play badly, but we've never seen them drop down to a D-League team. And even that's a stretch at this point. They can't play basketball right now. And so I think they're playing the Pacers. They can't play defense. Oladipo's going to eat them he's going to destroy them. He's going to rip them to shreds. I just don't see.
So you're saying you're going to go on record and say they're going to lose in the first round of the playoffs?
Can I say?
Well, look. You said we've
in his fifth year.
I don't want to be firm.
Really, any playoff experience.
I'm gonna say yes, but I don't want to be firm. I'm not being firm about it.
So
okay?
You think the Cavs are a first round exit team?
Right now, absolutely. The question is, will they turn it on like they do every year? I don't think they will. But will they improve by the end of the season? Absolutely. There's nowhere to go but up at this point. So,
does anyone have anything to say about Artin's claim?
I have something to say.
Hadi, go ahead.
I think that something I just thought about, I think they're still, as Cole said, they're going to make the finals. However, I think it'll be a much, much harder path for them. I don't think they're going to sweep the teams. I think, depending on who they play in the second round, whoever they play potentially will take them to 6 or 7. I think that's going to be the difference. They're not going to have just an easy road.
Cole,
I think they look awful. They look like they can't play basketball. They look like they've never played basketball in their life.
Are you sure?
The most frustrating thing is everyone knows whoever's coming out of the West is beating whoever comes out of the East anyway.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's Golden State, Houston, San Antonio. They're still okay. Maybe not San Antonio's beating Cleveland, but San Antonio's beating Boston. San Antonio's beating Boston.
Yeah.
Beating both of them, and Golden State's beating both of them. As much as I love LeBron, but that's the case in the NBA. That's what's happening.
I mean, you can't really blame all that on LeBron. LeBron, as good as he is, the best player in the league versus the next two, the 2 and 3 is gonna win. There's a reason that drafts aren't snake drafts in the NBA, right?
I know, and it's most of it's because Cleveland, the rest of the Cleveland team is not playing up to par. And the rest of the Rockets team is playing absolutely fantastic. So,
yeah. All right. Well, I think that's good enough for now. I talked about LeBron. I talked about the Cavs. I know nobody else that does anything NBA related ever talks about those things, so it's good that we got them in. Anyway.
For next time.
Sorry?
Let's talk about the Heat more next time.
Okay. So finishing it off, our role player of the week, Trevor Ariza. Ariza, great guy. He is what some may call a shooter in both senses of the word, because he'll fight anybody for his teammates. He once had his father, the original LeVar Ball, tell everyone he was better than LeBron James in high school, LeBron then scored 50 points on him in a game. Nowadays, Trevor Ariza is our role player of the week. He averages 12 points a game with 4 rebounds, almost a little bit more than, 1.5 assists, 1.5 steals, and under a turnover a game. He shoots 42% from the field. He's a very good three-point shooter, hitting about 3 a game. And what he does for the Rockets, many players wish they could do for their own teams. He is a older version of what people would call a 3-and-D player now. I remember he was very important for the Lakers and their championship runs back in the day, in 2009, 2010. He's a guy that you want on your team. Great 3-and-D guy. And like I said, he's got his teammates' backs. Artin, what do you got to say about Trevor Ariza?
Ariza was a big part of my fantasy team last year. He's one of my favorite players, honestly. I love a guy who can hit it from the corner and then just go back on D and lock down whoever has the ball. He's just one of those players that benefits any team. He can play on any team and he'll be a big important part. And LeBron may have scored 50 on him, but LeBron has never been our role player of the week. So who's the real winner here?
I agree. Cole, what do you got to say about Trevor Ariza?
I like Trevor Ariza because he's doing his thing. He's playing well. He's being efficient as a role player, but he's not doing all the talking that Jaylen Brown and other players are. They think they're better than they actually are. I think he knows his role very well and he's stuck to it, and he's become efficient as a player because of that.
I agree. I think something that we forget about Ariza is that he was one of the first guys to really accept the 3-and-D role of he was a role player when a guy like Rashard Lewis was a great role player, and he's adapted his game really well. Hadi, what do you think? What do you think about Trevor Ariza?
I also actually really agree with Cole, just in the sense that he knows his role. He does what he's asked to do, and I don't know why I thought this, but a few years ago to last year, I thought he was quite overrated and overpaid. But honestly, just from this year, I don't know why I thought that, but he's doing his job. I like him. He's a good role player.
All right, so our tradition, end of the podcast. You already know what time it is. It's time for hot takes. Artin, give me a hot take.
Hot take: Cleveland finishes this season under 50%.
500?
Under 500, whatever. It's the same thing.
Cool, hot take.
My hot take is LeBron and Dwyane Wade go back to Miami to restart a new birth of Miami greatness, and they will go to the finals in many years to come and lose to the Western Conference. Excuse me.
All right, Hadi, hot take.
Lowry will win the 3-point contest because he eats a box of Krispy Kreme donuts and it gives him power.
True. And my hot take for the week is that Kevin Durant will choke at some point in the playoffs, and everyone will still blame Steph Curry for some reason. Okay. That does it for tonight. We'll have this up soon. I don't know when. And you'll be hearing this if you make it all the way to the end. Thank you for listening. Follow us on Instagram. Starting 5 Podcast, Episode 3, Volume 3. It's all done. Thank you for listening. Yeah.